Hello, and welcome to the Halloween version of the Wine Steward Weekly video. Hello, folks. We are here to tell you almost exclusively about wine bar activity this weekend. In other words, I'm not going to go on forever about the next event because it's already sold out. The second version thereof, which we haven't told you about, is probably sold out too. Those who were disappointed enough to email back are going to be told about Shot Enough to Pop version 2. So stand by, those of you who contacted me weeping, wallowing in your sorrows, and wondering, can you possibly do that Shot Enough to Pop event twice? So no more about that. Sorry. However, we do have a fantabulous wine bar menu now created. I got here very, very early in the dark I'm doing this on Thursdays now. I find that I can be very productive before other people appear for distracting me. So I came in early, and the first thing I did was walked around this very dark store and selected scary wines to show you this weekend. Let's tell you exactly what we're doing on the wine bar this weekend. And since I got up so early, it must be noon somewhere, and I would like to try a couple of these with you. This is the sparkling wine of the week. Might be frightening to you because you've never heard of such a thing. We had not heard of such a thing as sparkling Gruner Veltliner from Austria until we tasted this only 1 week ago. We tasted it, and usually the odds are the first time we try something, we need to try about 3 more of those somethings before we find a good example thereof. Actually, this wine worked first time around. It's not only unique, it's not only novel, and perhaps a little frightening to you, but it's actually really delicious. It's spicy, vibrant, and a lot of beautiful green flavors, a la the label and what we expect from Gruner Veltliner anyway. But this is Gruner Veltliner made like champagne. In other words, méthode champenoise. We're not really supposed to say that, so instead we say méthode traditionnelle. In other words, the second fermentation happened in bottle. The rather labor-intensive way, but better way of making sparkling wine, as evidenced here. That is tasty, tasty. Try your very first, I'll bet it's your very first, sparkling Gruner Veltliner Brut from Niederösterreich. That would be northeastern Austria. Gruner Veltliner is certainly Austria's favorite white grape, and now you finally get to have it in vibrant, bubbled form. Now we're going to get on to some scary wines in a second, but I thought for the white flight, why don't we do a bunch of white wines that all start with V? I don't know why, it just seemed to make sense. When I was looking around at things that had just come in, a theme was forming, and it's a rather strange one. White wines that begin with V. You know, the Latin verite or in Latin, the word green starts with ver, right? And so that translated over to verde in Spain and whatever it is would be in Italian. But you've got a bunch of white grapes that are actually beginning with ver because they're basically the farmer's way of distinguishing them from the red grapes. Oh, those are the green ones, right? So let's try wines that start with V. Let's go first to Spain for a Verdejo. Verdejo is most commonly grown in Rueda, Spain, which is about an hour, not even that sometimes, it depends on how fast you're driving your rental car, north of Madrid. And so it is, in fact, Madrid's house white. In other words, on all those sandwich signs outside of the tapas places, you will see this specialty tapas and that one, you know, all these good things to eat, little bites thereof, and then of course a glass of Verdejo for maybe €3, you know. So here's a nice inexpensive one, vibrant. Verdejo is somewhat reminiscent of a Gascon Blanc if you've had a white wine from Gascony, France, or perhaps more of you would be familiar with a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It kind of goes there, very vibrant, very lively, lots of daisies and citrus, maybe grapefruit peel in the nose. It's not even cold yet, and it's very refreshing. Good stuff. So we're going to start with Verdejo. And then, what's our next V wine? Our next V wine, why don't we go to the eastern part of Italy? About as far east as you can go in Italy would take you near the city of Ancona. So why don't we go fly into Ancona and then get in that rental car, drive just a little bit west into Castelli di Jesi, which is where some of the best Verdicchio in the world is made. And Verdicchio, V-E-R, is not necessarily a household name for you, but it certainly is in the Marche region of Eastern Italy. Verdicchio by Bucci. This is not just Verdicchio, this is Verdicchio Superiore, meaning for some reason it's better. And it's also one of the few grapes that, in its most exalted forms by wineries in this area, like the ones that see some wood aging, Verdicchio is one of the rare Biancos, or Italian white wines, that you can actually age. It's actually got the stamina for that. So try a beautiful Verdicchio next. And then white wine number 3, beginning with a V, will be as far west as you can go in Italy, which would mean let's go to the island of Sardinia. Why don't we to the northeastern part of it, to the area of Gallura. Well, Gallura is almost certainly the best place in the whole freaking world for growing this favorite grape of ours called Vermentino. Vermentino is grown in Tuscany, Italy. Up in Liguria, it's known as Pigatto, and up in Piemonte, most people think that Favorita is the same as Vermentino, but its best locations are Tuscany and the island of Sardinia, so western Italy. This one just got here, Yankara. We always have 1 or 2 Vermentinos on the shelf, but this is a welcome to the most recent arrival. There was an older woman who once a year would order a case of this Yankara from us. We didn't actually carry it back then, but she must have gone there on vacation, and just for the sake of nostalgia, she would come back and order every year a whole box of this stuff. And you know, it's kind of sad, I haven't heard from her for a while, so I'm not sure how that's going, but it's kind of cool that we decided in the meantime, having tasted it last week with Enzo, a favorite wine rep of ours, that we should carry Yankara Vermentino. And wow, it's spicy. It's tangy. This is grown almost on a beach. It's grown very near the sea. Vermentino seems to love to be near salt water, and it easily picks up the brininess of the sea. Some of the wine's washing ashore there. Man, that's good. This one's a little more fleshy, enriched, because it's not just Vermentino. It's not just Vermentino di Gallura, it is Vermentino di Gallura Superiore. And once again, there's that superiore word, the meaning of which, per this wine, I don't know, except it's supposedly the better stuff. I can tell you, it is really good stuff. Forgot my spit bucket, so I have something over there. All right, now the red wines. The red wines are, in fact, when I did the menu today, that guy's on the back, we chose to do wines that will frighten you. Perhaps they shouldn't, but they're just unfamiliar. We're scared of the unknown, aren't we? And I mean, most of you who come into the wine shop, called the Wine Steward, are already confronting your fears, and those fears are long since dispelled. In other words, you bravely came in to a wine shop. Instead of going to a grocery store, you came to a place where you thought maybe everybody was going to be threateningly snobby to you, and you'd be mistreated, and you were just like bracing yourself for a whole bunch of scary, pipe smoking men and wearing tweed telling you that you don't know shit about wine, and all these labels on a shelf that you've never heard of before. And how threatening is that? Well, you faced your fears. We therefore know that you, great Wine Steward customers, are willing to face your fears, that you actually rejoice in the unknown. So let's rejoice in this first unknown red wine. As we get into the red wine fight, 5 reds that might freak you out in one way or the other. So this is a red wine from Emporda. Emporda is relatively unknown. Actually, it's freaking unknown. This is almost France, but you're still in Spain, northeast Spain, north of Barcelona. And Emporda is the region just right up against the Spanish Spanish-French border. If you were to go over that border, you'd be in Banyuls, where they make some of the greatest dessert wine in the world. But still, these are unknown areas. This is like some freak in a laboratory decided, whoa, I'm going to blend Garnacha and Tempranillo. So we've got this wine that thinks it's from the Rhone and then wonders if it might be also from Rioja. This is like mating two varieties that perhaps shouldn't always be together, but let's see what happens. This is from Importa once again. It's a 2016. And man, all you have to do is look at the back label and you really freak out because every word on the back is not even in Spanish, it's in Catalan. That's scary, right? I mean, it's scary because it's unknown. Like, what are they saying? And like, you smell this wine, and well, this is not safe. It's actually, you have to acclimate. Again, think of what a Côte de Rhône, that is a red wine from the Rhone Valley of France, based on Grenache, might do along with an addition of Rioja, which is Tempranillo, right? So, and wood, I think American oak is at play here, and that's kind of a traditional Rioja treatment. You can acclimate, you can get to know this wine and like it. It's affordable. The nose at first is like, man, this is old world and the wine smells old, and then you realize, no, this is on purpose. It's cool wine. That cool label too. What do you think of that, huh? Let's get that right. All right, so wine number one. Goodbye. I faced my fears. I survived. Now, wine number two. Here's another scary one. MUSC by a guy named crap. I can't remember his name. Oh, Julien Mousse is his name. M-U-S. Poor guy. This is made entirely of a grape called Marselan. Marselan is a cross, not a hybrid, but a cross. There's a difference. A cross is the bringing together of two Vitis vinifera varieties, and in this case, Grenache was forced to make love to Cabernet Sauvignon to create a baby grape called Marselan back in 1961. So this grape variety is literally 2 years older than I am, and now, I want to imagine you imagining yourself on a motorcycle. You're behind somebody. You don't know who that is. You're on this Harley and you're holding on tight. You're holding on for dear life. And you've got your nose up against a leather jacket and perhaps long flowing hair that was recently washed with a shampoo that had a lot of musk in it, or maybe that's the cologne he or she is wearing, and you're just holding on for dear life. Maybe it's Lady Stetson, I don't know, but imagine that sweetness and slight funkiness of leather and that musk of the treatment. Hopefully this person is well washed and has, but fragrance, and yet not typical fruit, okay? A little frightening, right? Well, the Marselan grape, it can be a little frightening as 100%, but you should know that they're growing it in China like crazy now, and also it's approved in Bordeaux. As they are seeing things warm up in Bordeaux, they are looking forward to adding other grapes to resolve the fact that some of the grapes they're working with, Merlot and Cabernet and so on, might not be working as well in the near warmer future. So they have now approved a Touriga Nacional and Albarino, believe it or not, and this grape here, Marselan, as something we should be checking out and growing in Bordeaux to see how it behaves in our future wines. Wow. This is a cool nose, but once again, you have to acclimate, just like wine number one. Please smell, wonder. I mean, perhaps the first sniff is like a freak out, and then you're wondering, who is this I'm holding on to on this Harley Davidson? Wouldn't that be, that should be a movie. Like if somebody wakes up all of a sudden and they're hanging on to like, who is this? Something very satisfyingly peppery in the nose and mouth, besides the leathery, musky thing. It's cool wine, 100%. This is from the Rhone Valley, by the way. I don't think I said that, but this is by a French dude who makes Chateauneuf de Pape and great Côte de Rhône, but he also works with Marselan. Marselan grows in the Rhone in the south of France, and as I said, over in China and in Bordeaux now. So cool. Now, let's go to a variety That's not described on the front. Instead, we see a place name, which is how the French often identify their wines, not by grape name, but by place. So this is a Gros Hermitage by E. Gigal. Gigal is one of the most famous producers of Rhone wines, especially in the northern Rhone. And yet, not always my favorite producer of northern Rhone wine. You know, we're into this kind of wine type. But I've identified Gigal as perhaps an overuser of oak, and just kind of covers that beautiful Syrah a little bit too much. Oh, I said Syrah, didn't I? Ooh, that's why you are scared, isn't it? Are you trembling? Well, this Gigal works for me. I tasted a Côte Rôtie by him that cost 2.5 times as much. I didn't like it as much. It was too smothered with wood. This lets the craziness, the slightly scariness of Syrah to emerge from the glass, uncovered by too much wood treatment. Yeah, that smells Northern Rhone. This is the birthplace of Syrah. A lot of you are afraid of Syrah, certainly only because of the uncertainty of like what kind of Syrah are you getting from Australia, from Paso Robles. You get a bigger, jammier effect. But from cooler areas, you get more interesting things like black olive and black pepper, sometimes white pepper, and sometimes it's something as scary as meat hanging off of a ceiling in a delicatessen. That's a little freakish, right? But it's actually a very accurate descriptor for Northern Rhone Syrah. And there's fruit. I didn't say anything about fruit. There is fruit. There's black fruit and blue fruit, they often say, and some violets too. So it's a nice, you know, you will acclimate. You will get to know this wine. If you're really into it, please ask for the glass that we really like to show Syrah in. Not this one, but the New World Pinot Noir glass, and we'll gladly accommodate at the wine bar. So that's wine number 3 on our wine bar flight. Wine number 4. What's scary about this wine? Its name, Bedlam. Bedlam, named after that hospital for cuckoos in London. Yes. I'd be afraid to be trapped in there at midnight. But this wine is delicious. So the name's a little scary. Bedlam, why did they choose that? Because it's a rather unusual coming together of Syrah and Petit Syrah and Grenache. This is grown, this is actually made with purchased fruit. The winery is in Paso Robles, but the designation is Central Coast because much of the fruit does not come, in fact, from Paso Robles, but from farther south in Santa Barbara County, where, in my opinion, Syrah is better behaved. In other words, it shows more fruit and some of the more mystical, mysterious, eccentric, and yet desirable qualities of Syrah, where in Paso, sometimes it's just too bombastic and monolithic. So this is a delicious blend referencing different vineyards on the Central Coast called Bedlam by a small winery, Nell. And, you know, you'll be afraid based on the name. You won't be afraid once you have it in your glass, I promise. The final wine takes us up to Washington State, to a place where there is a state penitentiary called The Walls. That's the nickname for the state penitentiary in Walla Walla. And this is, in fact, The Walls Winery. No, the prisoners are not forced to stop the grapes. This is made near that state penitentiary, but for some reason the winery just decided to choose this name, The Walls. This is Stanley Groovy. Stanley Groovy, The Walls. References entirely fruit from Red Mountain, which is about an hour's drive west of Walla Walla. Red Mountain is perhaps the most important wine region, some would say. Big Cabernet lovers would say it. This has, however, far more than Cabernet in it. Cabernet and, shoot, I'm going to have to cheat. I'll have to read the menu I just wrote. Here we go. I can't read in this light, but let's see what happens. Get this. This is cool. I'm only going this far to these links because this is a great list of wines. Touriga Nacional, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Grenache, Tinta Cal, Suzal. Those last two are Portuguese varietals. And Cunoise, that's a Rhone variety. All of these are grown now on Red Mountain, which is music to my ears because for a while there, all we were associating with Red Mountain was Cabernet Sauvignon, or the other way around. I'm not sure how to say that. But this is so cool because it demonstrates what that little tiny appellation, formerly known as the smallest appellation in Washington State, what it can do with all kinds of different grape varieties. So this Stanley Groovy actually went to our Red Collector Club. They normally are given Cabernet and the like. And we subjected them to this because it is beautiful, dark. I think I poured it, but my glass needed a rinse. So I'm going to pour it again. And put Stanley Groovy from the walls up here one more time. Don't ever get imprisoned at the walls. You never know what's going to happen. But drink this wine and you will appreciate it. Face your fears. Come to our wine bar this weekend, starting today. This menu is published. These wines are open. I'm going to get those whites chilled. That sparkling wine from Austria. Good stuff. It's going to be fun. Face your fears. Confront it. Do it. And thank you for everything you do with us. See you soon.